Yo ho everybody and welcome to another edition of Yinzer on Hockey. Before we begin, make sure you go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, click the little bell so you stay up to date on all the off-season happenings. I cover all 31 teams. If you're a hockey fan like I am, stay tuned for more content. So today we are going to take a look at the upcoming free agency period beginning on July 1st. These are unrestricted free agents that are going to be available starting July 1st. And first off, I would like to take a look at the center icemen that are available. Uh, and I used, I think it's the Hockey News, a little bit of a dated article published back in May of the top 30 available free agents. And I kind of edited and modified the list to the players that I believe have the most value now, um, as far as open market goes. Number one in the center iceman is John Tavares. This comes as no surprise to anybody. He is the hottest commodity on the open free agent market, and he is going to be sought after by every team with the available cap space. I'm figuring probably anywhere from 10 to 11.5 million per year is what you're looking at to get a guy like Tavares on your roster. For his career, regular season stats: 669 games played, 272 goals, 349 assists, total of 621 points. So a little bit less than point per game, but not by much. Career for the playoffs: 24 games played, 11 goals, 11 assists for a total of 22 points in 3 separate playoff appearances. So he's got value, he's consistent, and he is rightfully going to be the highest paid free agent this offseason. Most likely destinations I see for him, one being probably back in New York, signing with the Islanders, depending on how the meeting with Lou Lamoriello went a few weeks ago, as to whether or not they kind of subtly agreed to gauge his value, and then he ends up eventually coming back to New York. Vegas Golden Knights is obviously a team that's going to garner some attention with free agents with their immediate success that they had this past season. The amount of available cap space they have is a guy that's going to be sought after there. And there's plenty of other teams that have a need for a center iceman. And this is a guy who is definitely going to be looking to take the number one center role. I don't think he is going to go to a team like an Edmonton or Pittsburgh that have established center icemen on their top 2 lines. He's a guy that's going to be looking for top line minutes. Second on my list is Paul Stastny. Paul Stastny began his season last year with the St. Louis Blues, traded at the deadline to the Winnipeg Jets. Career numbers for Stastny: 824 games played, 220 goals, 426 assists, for a total of 646 points. So roughly 0.75 points per game, thereabouts. Cap hit last year of $7 million. He is 32 years old. And I think that's probably the ballpark that you're looking to sign somebody like Paul Stastny, is in that $6.5 to $8 million range. You're looking at probably a 2 to 3 year term for somebody like him at his age, and he is going to add depth to your center ice position. He's going to add experience, playoff experience. His playoff stats is 72 games played, 20 goals, 30 assists for 50 points. So yeah, roughly around 0.66 points per game in the playoffs. Great leadership potential. I think the likelihood is that he probably stays in Winnipeg, but again, you could see him possibly considering a return to the Blues. A team like Colorado needs some depth behind Nathan MacKinnon, so he's definitely a candidate for somebody like them that wants to add some some punch down the middle, and any of the other center needy teams. But I think for a guy like Paul Stastny at his age at 32, he is going to be looking probably to play for a contender. And as well with John Tavares, I think he doesn't want to go to a rebuild team, even though he's going to get he's probably going to get 8 years on wherever he signs. So look for him to look at contenders first, and then possibly teams that are on the edge of a rebuild. You know, they're in the later stages of a rebuild, maybe a New Jersey, Philadelphia, teams like that are well on their way in a rebuild. Even Florida Panthers is a destination that I think a lot of free agents should consider, because I think they're really close. Third on my list is Riley Nash. Riley Nash, Boston Bruins center iceman, played primarily third-line minutes for them. He career stats, 399 games played, 53 goals, 86 assists for a total of 139 points. He's a guy that should contend for second-line minutes, but I think he's best suited in a third-line role, heavy penalty kill minutes, and a lot of defensive zone face-off type guy. Just a real well-rounded player that should garner some attention based on his performance in this past season and in the postseason. Career stats for the postseason: 15 games played, no goals, 3 assists, 3 points. So not great in the postseason by any means, but he is a reliable defender. I think it is what a lot of teams should be looking at with a guy like Riley Nash. Fourth on my list is Tyler Bozak. Tyler Bozak has spent the entirety of his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs beginning in 2009. Career stats: 594 games played, 136 goals, 229 assists, for a total of 365 points. Bozak best suited for a third-line center ice role. He averages in the 52 to 53% face-off range, so he's very reliable in the face-off circle, great for taking defensive zone draws, very good on the penalty kill, and I think if you're looking at a third-line, fourth-line center role, this is a guy that you need to consider. Career in the playoffs: 18 games played, 5 goals, 5 assists, total of 10 points. And again, he averages, in the career-wise, he's at 49.9%. He did have a relatively bad year in 2012, 2013 in the face-off circle, was 42%, but recently he has really honed his skills in the face-off circle. This is a guy last year made $4.2 million. I can't expect much of a raise from that amount for a third-line, fourth-line center. I think Toronto will be looking to re-sign him, especially considering they're losing guys like James Van Riemsdyk. Probably Leo Komarov is probably going to go. So, you need to keep that forward unit intact as much as possible. I think a team like Pittsburgh, if the price is right and they're able to move 1 or 2 contracts, Tyler Bozak would be well suited for the fourth line center role if they're not able to bring Riley Sheahan back on a team-friendly deal. A team like Montreal would be a great fit for a guy like Tyler Bozak to add depth to their center, because they really have no depth at center at all. San Jose, depending on whether or not Joe Thornton decides to come back, a guy like Bozak would be a great addition there as well. Number 5 on my list is Jay Beagle, and this is mostly based off of his performance in this year's playoffs. He was so good this year in the playoffs. Penalty killing, winning face-offs. I mean, he was just lights out in the face-off circle this postseason. Career stats: 471 games played, 51 goals, 65 assists, and it's primarily third, fourth line role. He adds some scoring depth that was lacking for Washington in the past. In their playoff runs, they lacked scoring depth, and this year they got it from guys like Jay Beagle, Devontae Smith-Pelly, guys like that. Just great in the playoffs this year. And I think Jay Beagle, if I had to compare him to a recent free agent signing, I think a guy like Chris Kunitz is somebody that you compare Jay Beagle with, where you get steady numbers. He's consistently in that, 30, 35 point range, and he's a guy that adds veteran leadership to your roster. So I think it's a good addition. So look for Jay Beagle to garner a lot of attention on younger teams that are built, ready to win now. Again, the New Jersey Devils should be contenders for a guy like him. Philadelphia Flyers adding maybe a third, fourth line center. The Pittsburgh Penguins also, need a depth guy, and this is a guy in Jay Beagle that made $1.75 million this past season. He's probably going to be looking for a little bit of an upgrade in pay from that regard. So maybe he is looking at 3.25, somewhere in that range, and he is a guy that should garner some attention based on his leadership ability, his ability to take important faceoffs in any situation. Like, he takes defensive zone faceoffs in the last minutes of the game. He can take an offensive zone faceoff late in a power play. Just all-around versatility in the faceoff circle, and I like Jay Beagle for that matter. So let me know in the comments below, who are some big-name centers that maybe I omitted from this list. I intentionally omitted Joe Thornton because I think his signing is San Jose or bust. He either signs with San Jose or he retires. Who else in the center market is going to garner some attention? What teams do you think will be actively seeking a center iceman? And where do these guys fit in your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.